The story kicks off with an evil husband named Chong. He cheats on his wife Lei and even goes as far as blinding her on purpose just to take over her company. At first, Chong looks like the perfect, doting husband, caring, loving, all that, but Lei, who's actually pretty innocent, has no clue what he's really up to. She doesn't know he's seeing another woman, Jia. One day, Jia shows up at a hotel with her own husband, Yang. She heads into the women's changing room by the pool while Yang waits outside, totally clueless about what's going on. As Jia starts changing, Chong sneaks up and grabs her from behind. She screams and Yang hears it, but Jia quickly covers, yelling that everything's fine and begging him not to come in. She doesn't want him to find out the truth. Chong's furious. Jia doesn't love him anymore and he can't stand it. Jia tells him she's moved on, she loves her husband, and by the way, she's pregnant with Yang's child. This just makes Chong lose it. He demands she get an abortion, insisting that the only child she's allowed to have is his. When she refuses, he brags about how he's about to steal all his rich wife's money and make Jia his queen. Jia pleads with him to stop and live honestly for once, but Chong just laughs and calls her a hypocrite. He says she used to want money and power too, and now she's just pretending to be pure because she found a good guy. He even threatens to take care of the baby himself if she won't. After that, Chong heads back to the pool and finds Yang talking to Lei. Turns out Lei slipped earlier and Yang helped her up. That small gesture somehow sparks a friendship between the two couples, and soon they're out for a double dinner date. During dinner, Chong secretly touches Jia under the table. Jia jumps up furious, but she can't say what's really happening. She just says she needs the bathroom and leaves. Chong comes up with a flimsy excuse and follows her. In the bathroom, he corners her again. Jia's terrified and begs him to stop, but he won't listen. Their spouses are right outside, but Chong doesn't care. Yang, worried about Jia, goes to check on her. At the same time, Lei calls Chong. As Yang's voice gets closer, Chong ducks into a bathroom stall with Jia. Yang calls her name and Jia, barely holding it together, says she's sick and needs a minute. Yang waits outside, still in the dark. Eventually, Jia pulls herself together and rejoins her husband. But just as she does, Chong steps out. Panicked, Jia hugs Yang tight so he won't see Chong behind him. But Chong walks right past and, acting innocent, even kisses Jia on the cheek in front of everyone, just like they're old friends. The next morning, the couples check out of the hotel. Chong insists Lei sit in the backseat of their car, saying it's safer. He actually plans to kill her. At a red light, Lei smiles and tells him she plans to make him vice president of her company. Suddenly, a truck crashes into their car from behind. A month later, Lei is completely blind from the accident. Chong doesn't even bother hiding his new affair with Shinran, the company's financial vice president. Lei can't see him sneaking his mistress into their house. Chong even bribes the doctors to make sure Lei's blindness is called permanent. Lei, who still trusts him, decides to name him the next CEO. She believes the doctors she thinks she'll never see again. Chong, thrilled, promises to give her company shares back if she somehow regains her sight, but it's a lie. That same week, Chong meets Jia on a lonely hillside and tries to force her to drink a chemical that would kill her unborn baby. Jia stands on the edge, terrified, threatening to jump if he doesn't back off. He just laughs it off until she actually falls. That night, Chong heads to a hidden room in the house where he's been keeping Li's father, Mr. Lin, locked up and barely surviving. Mr. Lin's desperate now. He begs for mercy, promises Chong 20% of the company and a pile of cash if he'll just let him go and leave Li alone. Chong just laughs. He's not after a cut, he wants it all. Morning comes and Chong slips right back into his act, playing the devoted husband. He tricks Li into signing over her company shares, making himself the new CEO. While wandering the house, Li hears a strange thumping. Someone's knocking. She follows the sound and ends up at the locked room where her father's trapped. She tries to open it, but Chong catches her just in time, keeping her from discovering her father. Li insists she heard noises, but Chong brushes it off, says there's nothing there, tells her to go upstairs. When she hears the sound again, she pushes to check. Fed up, Chong opens the door for her. Inside, Mr. Lin is still a prisoner. Chong flashes a knife, threatening him to stay quiet or he'll kill Li. Mr. Lin, terrified, tries to crawl away. He knows if Li finds him, Chong will kill her. Li, convinced the room is empty, lets Chong lead her back downstairs where Chong's mother is waiting. She clearly hates Li, calls her all sorts of names, blames her for the accident and her own blindness. Chong drags Li to the company office. In the boardroom, she holds a meeting to make Chong CEO. Right then, the cops burst in and arrest Chong for murder. Li's stunned. She tries to get answers, but Chong tells her not to worry, he'll be back soon. At the police station, the officers say Jia is missing. Last time anyone saw her, she was in Chong's car. The cops claim Chong and Jia were having an affair, and he killed her to hide the evidence. But before the officer finishes, Li calls the police chief and demands Chong's release. She's convinced someone's framing him. Her friend tries to warn her Chong's probably guilty, just faking kindness to get her money. Back at the police station, the chief calls in the middle of the interrogation. Li heads home with her best friend Pooh. When they walk in, they find Chong's mother throwing out Li's wedding photo, stomping on it and calling it vile. Pooh can't just stand by, she steps in, reminds Chong's mother that it's Li's house, not hers, and tells Li that Chong is just like his cruel mother, only pretending to care. Still, Pooh's glad Chong's in jail. Chong's mother loses it. She starts some sort of black magic ritual, grabs a doll named Li, and stabs it with an enchanted needle over and over. Meanwhile, Jia's husband, Yang, shows up at the station and tells the officer Jia's alive. She's at the hospital. Turns out she fell from a cliff while out with a friend. The officer realizes Jia lied to Yang, tries to explain, but Yang's only worried about his wife. A junior officer heads to the hospital to get Jia's statement and close the case. Back in jail, Chong is furious with his henchmen for failing to make Jia disappear. He's honestly stunned that she survived and didn't say a word about who pushed her. After all that, he shows up with a really odd gift for his wife, Lei, a bell. He says it'll help him know when she's close by. That same night, Cheng's creepy mother waits until everyone's asleep, then drags him off to her secret room. There, she finishes her black magic ritual. She wants to steal Mr. Lin's good luck and give it to her son Chong. She stabs Lin over and over with long needles right into his organs, then drives a thick knife straight into his back. It's brutal, but the ritual's done. The next morning, Lei senses something's wrong with her dad. She calls the hospital to check on him, but the caretaker gives her some excuse, says her father's sleeping and can't talk. Lei's anxiety only gets worse, so she tells Chong she wants to go see him. Meanwhile, Yang takes Jia to his plastic surgery clinic because her face is a mess. He's furious and wants payback for what happened to her. Later, Lei asks her mother-in-law for water. Instead, the old woman puts a steaming hot pot in front of her, burning Lei's hands. She doesn't even act sorry. She just calls Lei a useless blind girl, says she can't do anything for herself. Lei begs for help, so her mother-in-law drags her to the bathroom and soaks her completely with the hand shower. Lei pleads with her to stop, but she won't listen. Then she squirts shampoo all over the bathroom floor right in front of Lei. Of course, Lei slips and falls. While this is happening, Chong finds out Jia went to her husband's clinic. Yang's assistant Aisha tells Yang that Chong's come to visit. Yang says to let him in, but he already suspects Chong tried to kill Jia and her unborn baby. Still, he acts polite and greets Chong like nothing's wrong. Chong claims he just happened to notice the clinic's sign and decided to drop by. He asks about Jia and the baby. That's supposedly why he's there. Yang tells him Jia fell off a cliff. She made it, but the baby didn't. Chong fakes shock and says they can just have another child. That's when Yang snaps and asks how Chong even knew about the baby. He never told him. Chong lies and says he heard it from his wife Lei, who heard it from Jia. Yang jokes that for a second he wondered if Chong was having an affair with his wife. Chong laughs it off and says he and Lei just want to visit Jia, but Yang refuses to say where she is. He says Jia needs peace to recover. Chong leaves quietly, but he's not letting go of Jia that easily. When he gets home, he finds Lei unconscious on the bed. His mother claims Lei fell in the bathroom, her own fault, she says. Chong's worried since Lei's supposed to attend a board meeting tomorrow and announce him as the new CEO. But his mother brushes it off, calls it a minor thing, and says Lei just fainted. With Lei asleep, Chong decides to have some fun. He calls Vice President Shinran over to the house. When she arrives, he grabs her. She's surprised at first, but then she kisses him. Meanwhile, Lei wakes up in her room. Suddenly, she realizes she can see again, her eyesight's back. Overjoyed, she rushes out to share the news with Chong, not knowing he's cheating on her right then. At the same time, Lei's mother-in-law kills Lei's father Lin, hoping this final act will finally transfer all of Lin's good luck to her son, Chong. Lee hears a strange noise coming from below the house. She hesitates, but curiosity wins, so she checks it out and stumbles right into a nightmare. Her father's body is lying there, lifeless. Upstairs, Chong drags Shinran into Lei's bedroom, assuming Lei is still blind and won't notice anything, even if she comes back. But of course, Lei walks in and finds her husband with Shinran, the company's vice president. Lei quickly sizes up the situation and pretends to be blind, but Chong catches the way she looks at them. Now he suspects she's regained her sight, though he keeps quiet. Lei tells Chong she just dreamed about her father dying. He tries to comfort her, insisting her father's fine at the hospital. But Lei knows Chong suspects something, so she claims she smells women's perfume in the room, trying to throw him off and make it look like she can't see Shinran. Shinran quietly slips out. Deep down, Lei feels crushed, blaming herself for her father's death. Suddenly, Lei's mother-in-law shows up, saying there's a dead dog in the basement and tells Chong to get rid of it. Lei knows exactly who she means. Chong tells Lei to stay in her bedroom and heads down to deal with the body. As Lei moves for her phone to call for help, Chong stops her and tells her to come with him. When Shinran sees Mr. Lin's body, she backs away, refusing to help. But the mother-in-law insists that Shinran is now part of their twisted plan and she can't leave. Meanwhile, Lei feels sick from the smell of blood and the horrifying realization that her own husband and mother-in-law killed her father and are now dumping his body in Polyine. She's overwhelmed, but she keeps her head. Chong tells her to wait right there and not go anywhere. But Lei senses real danger, her own life is on the line. She quietly moves upstairs, takes the bell off her leg and runs. She makes it to her bedroom and grabs her phone, ready to call for help. But before she can, she feels Chong's presence behind her. Instantly, she slips back into her act, playing the naive, helpless wife. Chong snatches her phone, telling her she's dropped her bell. Lei forces a look of surprise. Chong keeps up his loving husband routine even after killing her father. Lei realizes he's just biding his time until tomorrow when she'll make him CEO of her company. Now she decides to turn the tables. She tells Chang she wants to give him all her shares, making him the real owner. He's stunned and thrilled. Right then, Shinran slips into the room, heads toward the bathroom, and calls for Chang. He follows her, clueless that Lei sees and understands everything they're plotting under her own roof. Lei wants to get out, but she's trapped. Her only hope is her friend Pa. Meanwhile, the police dig into Chang's background. Turns out he used to work as a watchman at a DJ club and fell for a DJ named Ya. But that didn't last, and somehow he managed to trick Lei and marry her instead. The cops wonder why Jia is defending him, and one officer remembers she had her face covered in bandages when he took her statement. Suddenly it clicks. The woman was Jia at all. Back at the mansion, Lei's mother-in-law and Chang try to feed her chicken soup. Lei hesitates, sure they've put something in it. She refuses, and her mother-in-law feels humiliated. Lee bolts for the bathroom, feeling sick at the idea of those monsters making her eat that soup. Meanwhile, her friend Pooh shows up at the villa. Chang brings the news and Lee goes down to greet her. But she slips up, makes eye contact, and Pooh, overjoyed, shouts that she can see again. Lee has to keep up the act, so she lies once more, insisting she's still blind. Her mother-in-law spots the expensive jewelry Lee brought and snatches it all up, thrilled. Now Lee needs to get Chang out of the way. She tells him to make coffee for Pooh since she loves it. Chang can't refuse, but before leaving, he asks Pooh to come with him, saying he wants to chat, and Lee can't stop her. When they come back with the coffee, Lee tries to let Pooh know she's in trouble. She remembers how as kids they had a secret signal for emergencies. Lee traces the old sign on Pooh's palm, and Pooh gets it instantly. Lee can see and she's in danger. Pooh asks Chang for something to eat, hoping she can slip away to make a call, but she doesn't realize Chang has already set up a signal jammer in the house. So she steps outside to try her phone, but there's no signal out there either. Chang starts getting suspicious and quietly tells his bodyguard to keep an eye on things. Pooh needs to get out and call the police to save Lee from Chang and his mother. But before she can get far, the bodyguard grabs her and drags her to Shinran, telling Shinran to kill Pooh if she wants to keep her spot in the company. Shinran is trapped. She kills Pooh to secure her power. Afterward, Chang brings in an eye specialist to check if Lee can really see. Lee gets nervous. The doctor examines her eyes and then lies, saying her vision hasn't come back. Lee's confused. Why would the doctor lie? Turns out later the doctor meets with Yang and admits Lee is faking her blindness. The doctor lied to Chang, who wants Lee to stay blind forever. Later that day, a junior cop visits Yang's clinic to check on the victim. Jia Yang lies and says she's been moved to another hospital and can't be seen. Meanwhile, Chang still believes Lee has regained her sight, and now he's terrified. Tomorrow at the board meeting, Lee is supposed to name him the new CEO, but he's scared she'll expose him instead. Shinran whispers that she has a ruthless but foolproof way to find out if Lee can really see. A whole day passes and Pooh is still missing. Lee's anxiety grows. She has no idea Chang and Shinran already killed Pooh. Just then, Chang storms into her room with Shinran and his bodyguard. Out of nowhere, Chang wants Lee to undress in front of everyone, hoping to force her to slip up and prove she's not blind. Lee catches on fast. If she refuses or reacts, he'll know she can see. She's trapped, so she forces herself to stay calm. Hands shaking, she starts unbuttoning her shirt, sacrificing her dignity to keep her secret, but someone is watching. Yang sees everything through a hidden drone camera. Then flashback. We see Chang finding Jia, injured at the bottom of a hill. Before he can save her or their unborn child, she dies in his arms. Grief and fury burn in Lee. She silently swears she'll take Chang down at the board meeting tomorrow. The next morning, Chang's buzzing with excitement. He's sure today's the day he's about to become CEO for life. His mother, as usual, is caught up in her superstitions and begs him not to go. She's got a bad feeling something awful's about to happen. But Lee just shrugs her off, calm as ever, and says the meeting's happening no matter what. On the way to the company, Chang hands Lee a gift. She opens the box and finds Pooh's clothes soaked in blood. Her heart sinks. She doesn't cry or even flinch. She knows this is just another one of Chang's twisted games, another test of her nerves. Meanwhile, the junior officer heads back to Yang's clinic. The senior detective storms in, demanding to know where Yang's hiding Jia's body. Yang acts stunned, swears Jia's alive, and rattles off the name of a doctor friend who can prove it. The junior officer calls the doctor, comes back, and announces Jia's at the hospital. The detective lets Yang off for now, but orders the junior officer to check on Jia in person. Back at the company, Lee and Chang pull up. Lee's about to step out of the car when Chang suddenly presses a chloroform-soaked cloth over her face. Shinran's confused, but Chang just says he doesn't need Lee anymore. Chang walks into the boardroom alone, head held high, and declares himself the new CEO. The board members explode. They refuse to accept it. That's when Shinran steps in, grinning, and lays it all out. Chang's already taken all of Lee's shares. He holds the biggest stake now. Like it or not, he's the CEO. Just like he said he would, he promotes Shinran to chief of finance. Back at the mansion, Lee wakes up in her room. It hits her all at once. Her husband, the one who cheated on her, has stolen every share in her company while she was blind. Now she knows he's coming for her next. Fear grips her. She needs to get out, but Chang's men guard every exit. First, she unties the belt from her leg. Quiet as she can, she tries to sneak away, but her mother-in-law catches her. The woman's eyes go wide, she can't believe Lee can actually see. That's the last straw for Lee. She finally snaps. She fights back, slamming her mother-in-law's head into the wall again and again before bolting downstairs. The bodyguard spots her and chaos erupts. Lee grabs a car and somehow escapes. Meanwhile, Chang's living like nothing matters but pleasure. He's got Shinran beside him, basking in luxury, acting like the world exists for him alone. His phone buzzes, but he ignores it. He's too busy pampering his mistress. The call comes again. This time, his bodyguard interrupts. Lee has escaped. Chang's face changes instantly. He clicks into high gear, already plotting how to spin this to his advantage. Calm and cold, he tells Shinran to call the police. Report that Lee killed her best friend Pooh and ran. Shinran hesitates, stunned, but Chang's already tracking Lee's car GPS. Across the city, Lee speeds down an empty road, pushing herself as hard as she can. Chang's men are after her. Suddenly, she spots a woman frantically waving for help on the roadside. Even now, Lee can't leave someone in danger. She stops and realizes too late it's a setup. At the police station, officers can't make sense of any of it. Their investigation reveals Lee's been faking blindness for months and now she's vanished, accused of murdering her closest friend. Frustration builds until a junior officer bursts in with more bad news. Jia disappeared from the hospital and Yang lied about her condition. Panic spreads. The officers race to Yang's clinic. The place is dead silent. Yang is gone, his phone's dead. They suspect he ran and order a top-to-bottom search. Inside a locked room, they find something chilling. This is where Yang kept Jia's body. Now the container is empty, but the senior officer notices one delicate strand of hair left behind, maybe Jia's. The case just gets messier. Lee wakes up in darkness. She's trapped in a filthy metal cage barely big enough to sit up. The bald bodyguard shuffles over, grinning cruelly. He mocks her, kicks the cage, then beats her with an iron rod, enjoying every second. He tells her to bow and beg. Lee trembles but won't give in. He laughs and shoves his phone at her, a news report with her photo plastered everywhere. They're calling her a murderer. The police are hunting her. Her world has flipped upside down. Before the bodyguard can hurt her again, Chang shows up. He acts the perfect victim, all heartbreak and innocence, the devoted husband, the ideal son-in-law. He claims he gave Lee everything, treated her like royalty, wanted only a peaceful marriage. Lee fixes him with a long look, then bursts out laughing, sharp and bitter. She spits on his shoe and throws every ugly truth in his face, his endless affairs, all that open cheating, and the day he killed her father like it meant nothing. Her words hit him hard, slicing straight through his careful mask. He snaps. Suddenly, Chang drops the pretense. He tells her exactly what he wants. He's going to sell her into an underground prostitution ring, somewhere so dark she'll vanish for good. Lee lifts her head, eyes locked on him, steady as ever. She tells him flat out, kill her now, because if she gets loose even once, she's coming for him. And he'll wish he finished the job when he had the chance. Chang can't take her defiance. He grabs a burning stick from the fire pit, ready to blind her for good. His bodyguard pins her down while Chang storms closer, rage boiling over. Then next morning, Chang's a different man. He's back to his old act, grieving husband. He films himself crying, making a big show for the camera, begging everyone to pray for him. He says he never dreamed his gentle wife could kill her best friend. Over at the police station, the senior officer watches this performance and doesn't buy a word. He narrows his eyes. A junior female officer says Chang looks sincere, maybe even sweet. But the senior officer just scoffs and brings out new evidence. A CCTV still from a hotel camera, clear as day, showing Chang way too close with Yang's wife Jia. Just like that, the innocent husband story is done. The cracks in Chang's mask are showing. Later, the police hear Yang's back home. The senior officer and the younger one head over to check. When they knock, Jia, the woman who's supposed to be dead, answers the door calm as anything and lets them in. Yang shows up acting like nothing's wrong, genuinely puzzled when they mention his wife. He's shocked they still believe any of that. Both officers just stare when Jia steps forward, alive and perfectly fine. The junior officer breathes a sigh of relief. The senior one, he can't shake a weird feeling. Even after talking with Jia, watching her with Yang, something feels off, staged. But he keeps quiet. He knows people mess up eventually and he's waiting for that slip. Later, after shopping, Jia walks ahead to fetch the car while Yang loads their bags. In that quick moment apart, Chang appears from behind a pillar and grabs her. Jia freezes, fear and shock written all over her face. Chang pulls her close, his obsession obvious. He whispers that he's missed her, voice shaking, not from love but something darker. Jia's voice turns cold. She reminds him of what he pretends never happened. He killed her unborn child and left her for dead. Chang starts apologizing, desperate, begging her to come back, promising he's changed. Before Jia can break away, Yang's voice calls from down the parking lot. Chang panics, drags her behind a wall and kisses her hard, leaving a mark on her neck. Jia shoves him off, furious and breathless. When she returns to Yang, he catches sight of the fresh mark. His face goes dark, he thinks she's been with Chang. He slaps her twice, burning with anger. Jia just stands there, humiliated, hurting. Chang watches from a distance, satisfied with the chaos he's just stirred up. Soon after, Chang meets with Shinran. He gives her a new job, dig into Yang's habits, his weaknesses, everything, then seduce him. The plan's simple: make Yang betray Jia, shatter her trust completely. At night, Shinran shows up at Yang's door acting all frantic, saying she's being chased by two men. Yang doesn't suspect a thing, he just steps outside and helps her hide. She clings to him, trembling, begging him not to leave. She grabs his arm, insisting he stay with her. Yang feels uneasy, but he can't bring himself to turn away someone asking for help. Meanwhile, Chang shows up at Yang's house. Yang's mother lets him in and Jia walks in right after. The moment she spots Chang inside her home, her whole body goes rigid. She tries to cover it up with a polite smile, but she's rattled. When Yang's mother slips into the kitchen to make tea, Chang doesn't waste a second. He corners Jia against the wall, grabs her, and his grip is all strength and menace. Jia barely breathes, she's terrified any sound might call her mother-in-law and blow up her secret. Chang doesn't care. His hands are rough and determined, ignoring Jia's pleas until she just gives up fighting and asks what he wants from her. He doesn't hesitate. He wants her love, nothing else. Then he drags her out of the house like she's his property. At a dingy motel, Shinran fixes drinks for herself and Yang, pretending she's just trying to relax. When he turns his back, she slips something into his glass, a sedative, but Yang's not as clueless as she thinks. He sends her to get more drinks, and the second she's gone, he swaps the glasses. When she comes back, he acts dizzy and weak, letting her think she's got him right where she wants him. Around the same time, Chang drags Jia to that very same motel. He tells her sweet husband isn't as innocent as she believes. Jia shuts him down, calls him a liar, but Chang won't let up. He pulls her into a room and shows her what he's been waiting for. Yang, sprawled on the bed next to Shinran, looking passed out. Jia's heart just breaks. She storms out, furious, convinced Yang cheated. Chang is right behind her, spinning more lies. He says he's the only one who's ever loved her, the only one who's ever fought for her, and that she should come back to him instead of staying with a cheater. Jia wheels around and calls him out, tells him exactly what he is, a selfish jerk who only thinks about himself and hides his cruelty behind fake devotion. Chang swears he'll prove his love, says he'd do anything for her. Anything. That's when Jia sees her chance. She looks him dead in the eye and tells him, fine, if he really loves her, if he truly wants her back, he should hand over his entire company and make her CEO. Only then will she even think about coming back. The next morning, Shinran wakes up confused and naked. Yang comes in with breakfast and she's thrown. She thought he'd have been caught by Jia and long gone by now. Over breakfast, Yang tries to get through to Shinran, tells her she's helping a monster like Chang who's just going to betray her too. He even puts it all on the table, offers her all his money and property millions if she'll just leave Chang. Shinran's overwhelmed, lost at what to do. That's when Yang shows her a video, proof that she killed Lei's friend Pu. He's blackmailing her. At the same time, Li comes home. Her mother-in-law is anxious, muttering about teaching Yang a lesson for staying out all night. Just then, Jiao packs her bags and gets ready to leave. Chang shows up to collect her, and without a word, she walks out the door with him. When they arrive at Li's mansion, Yang comes home too. His mother storms in, furious, grilling him about what he did to make Jia leave with another man. She demands that he bring Jia back right now. That's when she finds out the truth. Yang tells her that the real Jia died months ago. The woman she's been seeing isn't Jia at all, it's Li. Li's been pretending to be Jia, tricking Chang and plotting revenge. We see a flashback. Yang once saved Li from Chang gang's men. He told her that Chang killed his wife Jia and that he wanted payback too. But he warns her stick to his plan, no improvising. He even gives Li his dead wife's face, basically creating a whole new identity for her as Jia. Now Li's almost back on top as CEO of her company. Meanwhile, Shinran has teamed up with Yang. She's just pretending to be loyal to Chang, playing the part of his mistress. That night, Chang visits Li, still thinking she's Jia. He tries to get close, but she pushes him away. That sets him off. He forces himself on her. Suddenly, Jia stops resisting. Chang gets confused and frustrated. She used to fight him until the bitter end. Now something's off. Next morning, the senior cop starts getting suspicious. He thinks Jia is really Li after plastic surgery. He shows up at her office and calls her by her real name. Li stays cool, denies everything, keeps up the act. Later at a press conference, Chang officially names Jia as acting CEO. But when she announces he'll give her 10% of his company shares, he loses it. No way he's giving that much up. He offers less. Jia acts cold and hard to get, which only makes him more obsessed. His pride's wounded. Now he's fixated on breaking her and making her his. Back home, Chang's mother brings a young woman over, hoping to set her up with Chang. Instead of getting jealous, Jia just laughs and calls Chang, telling him his mom's trying to kick her out. When Chang Zhang's mother confronts her, Jia flips the script. She slaps the mother, then pretends the mother slapped her. She puts on a show, crying and accusing Chang of being a mama's boy who can't protect her. Chang loses it. He rushes home, and when his mother tries to stop him, he turns on her in a rage, but he can't bring himself to hit her. Instead, he storms into Jia's room, grabs her, kisses her desperately. She tries to push him off, but he's out of control. She slaps him and says she'll never be his, not with his evil mother around. Later, Chang's mother calls everyone together. She announces she's going to punish Chong in front of everyone for his temper. Jia laughs and says she'll only stay with Chong if his mother disappears from their lives. Chong looks thrilled, but he sends Jia away before his mother sees her. Then, acting like the obedient son he's always been, he kneels while his mother beats him with a stick, right in front of the young woman she brought. Jia secretly records the whole thing, mocking him behind her phone. Humiliated, Chong finally snaps and shoves his mother away. Meanwhile, Shinran starts seducing Chong's bald bodyguard. She acts like she loves him, says she wants to run away and start over, but she needs a lot of money. She convinces him to steal the company's seal stamp from Chong's locker and give it to her. Later, Jia meets Kuna, the board director who's always been loyal to Lee. He doesn't believe she's Lee, so she tells him things only the real Lee would know. Stunned, Kuna finally believes her. Jia asks him to gather the other directors. They're going to take Chong down together. At the hospital, Chong deals with his over-the-top manipulative mother. That's when Shinran shows up, acting all scared. She spins a story for Chong. Baldy stole cash from his locker, and when she called him out, he tried to assault her. Supposedly, Baldy's planning to run. Meanwhile, Baldy's off somewhere waiting on Shinran, dreaming about running away together. He has no clue what's coming. Instead of Shinran, Chong bursts in with a group of guys. He's furious. Baldy has to die. But Chong's not about to get his own hands dirty. He gives Shinran a knife and tells her to do it. She remembers how Baldy once made her kill Pooh. Now it's his turn. She doesn't hesitate. She stabs him. At the same time, the police start putting the pieces together. They think Yang did plastic surgery on Lee to give her Jia's face, hoping for revenge on Chong without dragging in the law. But since they believe Yang used another woman's body to fake Lee's death, they go after him. Yang bolts before they can arrest him. Next morning, Chong heads to Jia's room, grinning like he's about to collect his prize. He thinks she owes him a night together, but Jia shuts him down fast. Calm as ever, she reminds him that she only agreed to sleep with him after marriage, not before. Her tone is sharp and Chong's ego takes a hit. He leaves, frustrated. Later, the police call Chong in to identify a body they found out in the middle of nowhere. They think it could be Lee. Chong walks in, sure he'll finally get some closure, but when they pull back the sheet, he freezes. The body looks a lot like Lee, but it isn't her. He's rattled. Doubt creeps in. His mind starts racing. What if Lee somehow swapped faces with Jia? It sounds crazy, but nothing about Jia's recent behavior feels right, and he has no proof. Paranoid, Chong rushes off to confront Jia. He starts grilling her, asks questions only the real Jia would know. She nails every answer, cool as ice. She's been ready for this, but Chong's trust is gone. He drags her to a DJ bar and demands she perform just like the old Jia always did. Jia steps onto the stage and pulls it off without missing a beat. The crowd goes wild, and for a minute Chong feels reassured. Still, there's this itch he can't scratch. What if she's really Lee? So he checks her body for scars, ones only Lee would have had. But Yang took care of those during surgery. Jia's skin is flawless. Finally, Chong relaxes. He convinces himself she's the real deal, never realizing Lee has pulled off the perfect switch. Feeling satisfied, Chong brags that he'll marry Jia even if his mother against it. Jia just laughs at him, calls him a pet dog who can't stand up to anyone. The next morning, Shinran meets up with Jia and talks to her like she knows she's really Lee. She wants to know who the dead woman with Lee's face was, but Jia won't say. She doesn't trust Shinran. Shinran insists she's innocent, says she only killed Pooh because Chong made her. That sets Jia off. She loses it. When Chong asks his mom for permission to marry Jia, she blows up. Says he'll only marry the woman she picks. She tries to order him around again, but Chong finally snaps. Years of pent-up anger explode. He strangles his mother. A young woman sees it and panics. Chong quietly goes over, breaks her neck, then finishes her off with a metal object. Later, Jia comes home and finds Chong's mother dead on the couch. Without a wicked laugh. Not long after, Zhao marries him and gets ready to spend the night with him. But the moment he kisses her, everything goes sideways. He starts hallucinating. He sees Lee, his dead mother, and even catches a vision of Yang with Jia. He completely loses it. Turns out, Jia has been using a special perfume spiked with a drug that's messing with his mind. The next morning, Chong rushes to a doctor and finds out he's been dosed with something that cranks up aggression and impulsiveness. Furious, he barges into the company and accuses Jia of drugging him. Jia doesn't even flinch. She just tells him it's regular couple's perfume. When she asks him to leave because she's busy, he snaps and fires her from her CEO position. But Jia only smirks and calls Shinran. Shinran drops the bomb. Chong doesn't have the power to touch the CEO anymore since Jia now owns more shares. Then Kuna strolls in laughing and announces he transferred all his shares to Jia. Just like that, she's the biggest shareholder, she's got all the control. Chong's stunned. She stolen his trust and his company. Still, he clings to the fact that he's her husband. When Jia hands him divorce papers, he tears them up. That night, Chong completely loses it. He kidnaps Jia and drags her to some abandoned building. Jia warns him the police are watching, but he's past caring. He plans to kill her and snatch back her shares. He also reveals he knows Jia is actually Lee in disguise, but she doesn't care. It's already too late for him. He tries to strangle her, but she tells him that even if she dies, all her property will be donated. Before he can finish her off, Yang storms in, furious, and ties Chong up. Yang starts cutting Chong slowly, but Chong just laughs. Yang wants to kill him, but Lee steps in and tells him to let her go. Yang listens, unties Lee, and hands her the knife. She walks over to Chong, ready to kill him, but stops. She wants him locked up, suffering the legal way. That sets Yang off again, and he attacks Chong. Right then, a flashback hits. Yang once tried to kiss Lee just because she looked like his wife. Lee pushed him away, knowing he was just projecting old feelings. Remembering this, Lee threatens to ruin his wife's face if he doesn't stop. Suddenly, the police burst in and arrest Yang for orchestrating the crimes. But before they can grab Chong, he breaks free and runs, only to get hit by Shinran's car.